It's Neurolanus again with the messy here. I just want to make a quick reply to someone who posted on my video, Ego and True Self. He made a couple interesting points. Two-Agnosis said a couple things here. He defended the ego as not being, he said, it's not untrue. He referred to it as the spirit of the body, and that's true. It is the center of the animal consciousness of humanity. It is what has allowed us to evolve. It is our instincts and our body, and it's basically the center consciousness of that, and so in that way it's not a lie. But if you follow a spiritual path of awakening the inner self, the true self, and that is the spiritual awakening, of course, if you don't look for the true self or are not centered in the true self, how could you call yourself a spiritualist? You'd be lying, because that is the spiritual journey. So when you wake up in the true self and you are looking outward, you see the ego as a mask, you see it as a lie. But I mean, that's my perspective. You do see it as a mask, not necessarily as a lie, but you see it as something on the surface. It's not, at one point you might have thought that's who you were, but from the true self perspective, you see it as a mask. Now, I just want to make it clear, I don't know why, I just have a feeling that I should say this, just to be straight up and everything. I have always been the true self, except for one point in my life where I was overwhelmed and I kind of lost it. Then I had to find it again. But it's not like I used to be an ordinary kid and then I had some kind of spiritual awakening. I've always been like this. I've always been philosophical and looking at the world from a kind of innocent, open-eyed perspective, questioning everything and having a different view. It's kind of like when you're playing a game of chess. You got the chess players, you're right in the game, psychologically right into it, but some people who are standing back and watching it will see things the players don't see because they have an outside view. And from my impression, from my perspective, it's always been like everyone is playing this game, but I don't want to play. But I get to look and see all these things that they don't see because they're in the game. It's because I'm not, because I'm standing back and I'm getting a different view and I can see things that other people can't usually see. I felt the need to say that. I don't know why, purely intuitive. So yeah, I wanted to say that, yeah, the ego isn't a lie as such. It's just that it's not who you really are underneath. And even underneath the true self, so to speak, true self, there may be something even truer than that, and there probably is. But, yes, indeed, the spirit of the body. And it's not untrue as such, it's just not as true as the true self. Okay, and he also made the comment about the shadow self, advised me to get to know my shadow self. That's not the first time. There's been a few, if not several people on YouTube over the years who have told me that I should get to know my shadow self. And, well, that's just really kind of funny, because it's usually the innocence in me that people see, and they think that, oh, there's a guy who's never known any real darkness, and, oh, you are mistaken. Now, first of all, the dark side, the shadow self is not evil. If anything in human nature is evil, it would be the id, which is the want, the reptilian brain. But otherwise, nothing in our nature is evil as such, or could be considered that, unless you look at it from a slanted perspective. But the shadow self is just the unconsciousness. This is what you're unconscious of. It's like a fog. You know, it's not this great mysterious, well, it is, but it's not a spiritual realm that you go into and you automatically find enlightenment. It's just that there's things in there that you've lost that you might want to reclaim. There's things in there that maybe you really don't need to mess with anymore, that might want to mess with you. That's what you call your inner demons. That's a very deep and complex subject I can't go into in this video. I'd have to make a separate one for that. But yeah, the shadow self and dealing with the darker elements of your nature and shadows of things that have been, that you've gone through, or that things that have harmed you because things have harmed people that you care about. That's all in there somewhere. I spent years and years exploring my shadow self very deeply and expressing it artistically. I thought that somewhere in the center, in that dark self, in the shadow self, there'd be some kind of great truth and some kind of illumination. And no, the only illumination that I know, well, is my true self and this thing I call the light that some people call God, whatever it is. Beyond that, that's the only illumination is within me is my true self. And so all those years exploring my shadow self were kind of a waste. Now there are things that can get trapped in there or lost in there that do need to be found. So exploring in that has its practical reason, but you don't want to get lost. I forget who said if you stare into the void long enough, the void becomes you. So like I say, the shadow self is only beneficial for things that are lost in there, parts of yourself that you want to reclaim, or that you haven't discovered yet, maybe. Maybe powers or abilities that you have. This all gets really deep and too much for this one video. Anyway, I just wanted to follow up on that and to say, yes, the ego has its genuineness. And the shadow self is something that everyone should explore into, the unconscious realm. But it itself is not a spiritual state of awakening. It could be a way to get lost if you stay in there for too long. Anyway, peace.